Hello everyone and welcome back to Malts and Meeples. I am Petter, and as I said in the comments, it was really hot today, hence a tank top, and I am really glad for air conditioning right now. But before we hit up that, let's just talk about, well, the drink I have on hand. Got a nice old-fashioned again. No shocker. It's really a go-to for me at this point in time. And there might be some thudding around. The toddler is, well, hopefully sleeping soon. And right here, I have a wacky colored beetle. If you know what it is, let me know in the chats, in the comments, if you know what that beetle is. But it's about time to get into the list for tonight. And I should talk about the list that I'm doing. It's a little bit different than what BoardGameCo did, what Alex Radcliffe did over on BoardGameCo. His list was out of the games that he has backed on Kickstarter or Gamefound, though technically only on Kickstarter because nothing from Gamefound that he's backed yet has been delivered, which makes sense. Gamefound's been out for a year and a half now at this point. That would be a fairly fast turnaround. I think that, well, I'm sure there's some things getting close, but they didn't open it up to everybody right away. So he went through and did, out of the stuff that he's received, his top 10. I went with it a slightly different direction, mainly because I was like, I can probably come up with 10 that I enjoyed from what I've backed, but it's a little bit tougher for me. I haven't backed as prolifically as he has, and some of that is I cover less than he does. He has covered stuff more for a little bit, and yeah, so I went with 10, technically 11. I have an 11th on the list because I am excited to be getting it really soon, but also I don't know that I would be like, oh man, I have to back that on Kickstarter again. I might just pick it up in retail, but shall we hop over to the screen here? Alright, so like I said, starting out here with number 11. Number 11 is going to be Marvel Dice Throwing. The honorable mention one, because I am so incredibly excited to get this one in, and it should be coming around the end of the week. But as excited as I am to get it in, I don't know that I'd actually back it again. Because, well, I can pick it up at retail. I picked up all the other stuff, all the first 2 seasons of Marvel Dice Throwing at retail. Marvel Dice Throwing, if you're not familiar with it, is going to be a dice chucking head-to-head battler where you kind of roll for different Yahtzee scoring, and if you match up with something, one of your attacks, you do damage, and then your opponent rolls defense. It's a really fun game, a nice 2-player game, and one that I actually like at higher player counts as well. I think for some people, they're not necessarily going to love it at higher player counts or think about it for a game like that because, well, it's a battler game. You kind of think that you would want a 2-person head-to-head. I don't think that's really the case. I think their King of the Hill system works very well. And the cool thing is, all these Marvel heroes, and I'll get down to all of them here, they work within the system for the rest of the stuff as well. And so anything I have from the first two seasons, I can also play these characters with. There's a how to play. And let's meet the characters here. Miles Morales Spider-Man, Scarlet Witch. And so one of the cool things too about this game is obviously Marvel has to sign off on any artwork, anything like that you do. But Manny Tremblay, who was the artist for the previous Dice Throne stuff, was able to do the artwork for this as well. So the artwork still matches up for all these characters. We have Thor. Thor is going to have to be one of the early ones I play. He has Mjolnir. I think I get a metal Mjolnir from having backed the Kickstarter. Oh, and I should look at complexity too. So complexity is fun, that they let you know how complex a character is. It's like Miles Morales, not that hard, kind of a 2. Scarlet Witch, fairly challenging at a 4. Thor, again, not that bad at a 3. We have Black Widow. That's so many. I'm so excited to play all of these characters, and she's actually one of the more complex, but I wonder if she sets up more traps and stuff like that versus just being a straight up fighter. Doctor Strange, I expect him to be the most complex out of all of these, being able to like cast spells or something like that. But I'm really curious to see how he plays, how Wanda plays. Wanda has some really fun things, or Scarlet Witch, where she can swap out somebody's die with one of hers, which it doesn't hurt completely because you can still get these two up here are straights, so that depends on numbers. But any of these that require a symbol, it makes it harder. And like your ultimate here, the all-seeing eye down at the bottom, that isn't possible with Wanda's die in your deck. Level 5 complexity. Loki, he might be up there too. From what I know about him, and some of this for me is I just want to see this artwork because, like I said, this game is coming real soon. The printing label, or the label, has been printed. Still waiting to lock in the date that it's going to be delivered, but I'm hoping by the end of the week. Loki allows you to like bluff whether it's Loki or a hologram of Loki. So 4 for that one. Captain Marvel. I'm assuming, is going to hit real big and probably have some like evasion type maneuvers, though maybe not. A little bit more of a straightforward one. And then Black Panther. Black Panther and Captain Marvel were 2 of them who were announced right away. Those were the first ones that were shipped out. And he builds up this kinetic energy that then he can release to do more damage. So anytime he takes damage, whether it's from an offensive roll or a defensive roll, he's going to cause his kinetic energy to build up. Yes, yeah, Tristan, technically this is the number 11 on the list. Mainly because, as excited as I am for it, I'd probably pick it up in retail with no concerns next, or on another chance. free promo pack too. That's cool. It's just different cards or special cards, promo cards. And yeah, there is the Metal Thor's hammer, which is going to be so cool to have. So let's get to number 10 here. At number 10, game that my 10th most likely game that I'd back again. And you'll notice there are a couple, maybe ones you would think would be on the list that are missing. But number 10 is going to be Chronicles of Adronagar. Yeah, the nice thing is, I think Dice Throne has generally been available. So I would imagine the Marvel stuff is going to be available as well for quite a while. But Chronicles of Adronagar, this one, I actually hadn't planned to back it at all when it came up on Gamefound, because I thought, okay, another big campaign style board game, which, I mean, if you know the types of games that I love, that is a big one for me. That I love a good dungeon crawler game. And then the reviews started to come in, and the reviews all made me so interested in the game and in the expansion. So I ended up getting a fair amount of this. I got the Apocalypse content here. I might have done... So this, the reprint stuff, and I think one character pack. Can't remember what it was. It did not go to the crazy all-in level. But what was so interesting about this one for me is how you activate your characters. You have these cubes of specific colors that you use to activate your abilities of the corresponding colors, and then eventually you're out of cubes, or you want to do something that you've already done before, so you pull it back, and then you have to block off one of your abilities. So as you go, you are losing kind of access to some things. Now you can rest and get it back, but it comes at a cost, which is fun. There's so much stuff you can get for this. Yeah, that was just the new stuff. This is the core stuff, or the original stuff. I definitely added a hero pack. I have no idea what one anymore. So I think I did the split wave shipping on this, which means the original stuff should be coming sooner. And it sounds like it's actually getting fairly close, which is pretty cool. I wish they do all of their updates as videos, and I don't watch them, so I don't actually know. Number 9, you're going to see a trend here. It's mainly big campaign games on this list. A lot of the smaller stuff, I'm like, yeah, okay, I can pick that up at retail. Though, there is probably 2 that I consider smaller on the lighter end of things. But number 9 is not one of those. That is going to be Madara, Unintentional Malum, the complete trilogy. I originally backed this at a level where I was only got the first act, and they reopened the Pledge Manager, so I picked up acts 2 and 3. Tristan, what's the type of game you normally end up backing? Or some of the epic campaign games that you backed as well. See if there's crossover on them. So this one is going to be a big dungeon crawl story game. I mean, that is the book for the story of Act 1. Ooh, nice. Fantasy, space, and zombicide style. I think we might cross over then on some of them. But I really liked the setting for this one. This one just feels different. I compared Aoi's to an anime because all the characters definitely seem anime-esque, like to say, deeply rooted in JRPG. And yeah, the number of videos I watch because I'm bored at work is fairly high. But there's so much stuff for this first act. I haven't actually gotten to it yet. But even before I got to playing it, I was like, okay, I'll order Acts 2 and 3. I'm really curious. This one looks like a lot of fun where you can really level up your characters in different ways and play it to your style. Then number 8 here. Number 8 is going to be a very recent one, actually, and one that is on the list because of another game that I played that is in the same system realm of games. I just didn't back that one on Kickstarter. Other one that is that one might be the one on the list, but The Dark Quarter by Van Ryder Games and Lucky Duck Games. This is going to be a dark fantasy monsters sort of game using the Destiny system from Lucky Duck. So this app integrated storytelling, but the story and everything is being done by Van Ryder Games. Van Ryder Games does a lot of graphic novel adventures, and then another one on the list coming up here in a couple, which I will not mention. There we go. We have our first overlap. Tristan, very nice. This one I am really excited for. I love a good kind of deduction sort of game, and I think that this is going to give a nice amount of that. App stuff that Lucky Duck Games does is always amazing. And I went for the all-in gameplay level, and I would definitely do that if I had to back it again. There is a fancier version that has more stuff. I forget what that more stuff is. So I'll scroll on down here, see if I can find it. But this is what drew me in. Your decision matters. When a board game can pull that off, I'm definitely in for that. Plus, the Destiny system itself is really easy to kind of get to the table, which now in a cooperative package, definitely think is going to be even more fun. And there's going to be a scenario creator. I think they just got the one up for Destinies, which is just so cool. I wish I had side navigation. Kickstarter, get on it. And yeah, I'm so excited for the Dark Quarter. I really want to find what I'm skipping, because I know there is something that I am skipping. And even before I saw the Table Knots coverage, which definitely helped sell me on it too, I tried not to watch too much, so not to have anything spoiled. But Destiny is, I just knew was like, okay, I'm gonna be interested in this. Plus, this is cooperative, which always sells it for me. Well, I'm apparently going to have to scroll like the whole way down to find the different pledge levels. Skip that. Or maybe I'll just look along the side here. So no metal tokens, plastic tokens, miniatures. Didn't feel like I needed that for this game. But everything gameplay wise I could get, definitely picked it up. Next up, this is one that space game that I skipped backing the first time, and then it started to get really good reviews, and most of the people who played it really liked the game. And it reminded me of Time Stories in some ways. These one-off scenarios that are standalone, work in an interesting way, and that's going to be Unsettled. Unsettled is a board game that I went heavy on Unsettled the second time around. I was like, okay, I want to get all the planets plus the base box stuff for this planet exploration game where you're kind of solving a puzzle with kind of witty, snappy writing in it to get off the planet or complete whatever mission for the planet. And yeah, there are so many boxes, 9 planets, plus then the core box of framework stuff. Welcome, Nas. You don't know if you regret passing on it? I mean, my number 3 game is also going to be a space one. I'd regret passing on that one more. This one, I would back it again, and maybe not for everything. I maybe wish to have backed it at the original Kickstarter, but I think this is one that I can get my wife to play because of the Time Stories like feel it's giving me. But I'm really curious, and yeah, there seems to be a lot in it, and I definitely looked at Voidfall as well. That is one that I didn't back. I don't remember the details of it off the top of my head, but definitely was curious about that one. I just like this idea of, okay, I buy the base system, and technically I could have just bought the base system in 2 boxes and had 6 different things to play and just bought more as time went on, but Orange Nebula stuff doesn't go to retail that much, so Voidfall with a co-op mode that is Spirit Island in space. That is intriguing. Spirit Island I just picked up recently. Haven't dove into it yet, but solo game and cooperative, I definitely want to get it to the table. So Nas, you're talking about wow, brain failed me there. Unsettled. You haven't seen at retail? I don't know that it's going to retail. I think that it is mainly a Kickstarter exclusive. I do need to play Spirit Island for sure. So another one that actually is that plug and play style of game also making the list is going to be one that will probably be in retail a little bit more, but right now is impossible to find. That's going to be Final Girl. I love horror. I love like that horror horror movie, 80s horror theme. So I went with a very interesting pledge on this one. And I'm not sure, I mean, I would definitely pledge it again if I had the chance. Or if I could only pledge 10 games. And I don't know that I would get everything. I am getting everything currently. I actually picked up the base box as well as 2 of the feature films before I filled out my pledge manager. But because I had those, I didn't have to get the base box. And so I went with the level that just got me the various feature films. And then I had added on the ones that I hadn't already bought. So I have played, I think, a couple times, and I've really enjoyed it. So I doubt it's going to be one that leaves my collection. It's nice that it's fast to get to the table and has a lot of variety in what you do, but I probably didn't need to buy all of it. It's one of those, like the 25 different combinations with 5 feature films probably would have been enough versus I'm at 100 different combinations. Still, it's a theme that I love, so it was going to be an easy one to back for me. Then, here we are going to go up to number 5. Speaking of one that I could potentially make money on, if I ever decided to sell it, it's going to be, and this is the placeholder for 2 of them actually. And that is going to be Marvel United X-Men and or Marvel United. I have not everything for it. And so I don't have the upgraded cardboard pieces. I don't have the plastic tokens for it. But all the gameplay, all the minis, yep, got them all. Still in the process of sleeving all the cards for X-Men United, or Marvel United X-Men. And this is one of the games on the list that I have had the chance to play. And I have played this one a fair amount because it's just easy to get to the table. It has all these great minis, but you pull out your character mini, you pull out their deck of cards, pick your villain and their deck of cards, and you can get it to the table in 10 minutes. Which is great because it's going to take a long time to get through everything. Even though, I mean, who knows if I ever will play everything. This is one that I want to paint, which means I have to practice more on painting. But so many different characters, and I showed off some of them on a previous stream. You have like these characters like Phoenix or Firestar look great in real life. Oddly enough, Iceman didn't look so good, but the rest of them really looked good. And this is one I can see is, it needs to be one that I get to the table more regularly. But when I do, I generally pull it down and play it 3 times, 4 times in a sitting. Because, I mean, that's an hour and a half of gaming, maybe 2 hours. And all the villains play so differently, the heroes play differently enough. And I knew I had to go all in on this one because eventually we'll find him. Somewhere down here there's Gambit, and he was going to be the character that I really wanted to get my hands on. Yeah, he's in that blue team pack. I would definitely back this one again. I might back it off if I were to do it again to this Apocalypse Pledge level with like an add-on, maybe 2. Don't need it all. Like I said, I don't mind having it all because it's very easy to play, but also probably don't need it all. Then bouncing back over to Gamefound, this one I definitely would back again because I have played the game this one is based on, and I loved the game that this one is based on. But I did have a little bit of quibble with it. I streamed it actually. And that is going to be Sleeping Gods. So Sleeping Gods, Distant Skies, I would 100% back again. Yep, Tristan, that is certainly a case of I could definitely sell off the stuff that I don't want for it. Though I'm a huge Marvel fanboy, so probably gonna keep all of that one. One that didn't make the list, but also Simon game is Zombicide Undead or Alive, which I'm really excited to get in. And that one, I might start to sell off a few things that I am not interested in. Just because, I mean, some of the things should have a fair amount of value to them that are just extra for me that I'll probably never play with. But yeah, Sleeping Gods, Distant Skies does a few things that I'm excited about. Yeah, I love the Western theme for Undead or Alive. That drew me in, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh yeah, and we have Marvel Zombies. So not Marvel Zombies is not on the list actually. Either is Undead or Alive. It's just those games just cost so much, which I didn't even get the Giant Galactus, but Sleeping Gods Distant Skies is going to be kind of that sandbox story game where you are exploring a world that is unknown to you. This time with an airplane, last time in the base or in the first game with a ship. And this time the two things that I'm excited about or really interested about for this one are you only control 5 characters. So if you're playing solo, and I say control 5 characters, you have a crew of 5 characters. All of them activate at once. I didn't find it that big a problem for Sleeping Gods with 9, because you were just looking at symbols for abilities for the most part. You weren't reading text too often. So it wasn't too bad, but 5 is going to be way more manageable. And then the other big thing that I like about this one that I actually played wrong with the other one because it didn't make thematic sense, and it was an unintentional mistake on my behalf, was that you don't keep your abilities, your skills you've played. And when you do, or when you reset, kind of, you play those skills, you put all the effort into getting them out, then you hit a point in the game, you get rid of them, and you go back again. And it didn't make sense to me. I played it wrong, like I said. I'm excited to see that they have gotten away from that, which is really cool. And I went to also getting this Primeval Peril. So I think the only thing that I am missing is one of the expansions for the original game, which I do want to track down. The one where you can play or that comes with the extra map locations. Yeah, the Marvel Zombicide, just to pop over to chat, that one I actually am excited about the gameplay for it because you can play as zombies, because you can play as heroes, or you can face off with some people playing as zombies, some people playing as heroes. And again, it definitely makes a difference the fact that I'm a Marvel fanboy as well. So number 3 on the list is going to be, well, the highest space game and the one that launched Gamefound with ISS Vanguard. I love the Awaken Realms games that I have played thus far. I love Tainted Grail. I love Lords of Hellas. Didn't back Lords of Hellas on Kickstarter. Got that used. So, will not be making the list. But ISS Vanguard is going to be a massive space exploration story game that, I mean, it immediately hooked me with the idea of there's a signal that turns out to be something that coordinates basically, and we fly out there, we find a sphere, and in that sphere is basically another solar system, another galaxy. Forget exactly what it is, but something that has been set out there for some competition. And yeah, this is not a cheap game, but Awaken Realms, whenever they put out anything, is going to get my attention. And oh yeah, I mean, there's so many extra things you can get as well. Painted models. I mean, pledges at that level are insane. The core pledge, actually, considering, is a very good price. Like $100 for a 50-hour campaign, probably. Not bad. But then you start to go up here, getting a few other things, and then more. This is the level that I went in at, the all-in gameplay. Yeah, they missed August 2021 by a little bit. I think it's about in production now, or getting close to it. I think they're getting the samples now. But yeah, you go up higher, you're looking at, I mean, I guess group pledges, but $535. And yeah, Awaken Realms out. I will say this about the ISS Vanguard project. When they were teasing that with shipping out Tainted Grail, they were teasing it and were like, oh, this sounds like a great idea. Then they dropped a trailer for it. Then they did this launch at the start of 2020. And they have refined the gameplay a lot for it from the sounds of it, which is great, but also maybe be a little bit closer to production by the time that you launch the campaign, or not production, but to game design being completed. And I understand, like, if some of these expansions, the like those 2 boxes aren't ready to go right away, but the base box should be ready to go. And then, actually, a game that we have been talking about already is my number 2, because I am 3 chapters into the 3rd campaign of it. And that is going to be Tainted Grail, The Fall of Avalon, which the artwork for the box stayed the same. The shape of that box is very different at this point in time. And yeah, I mean, it's $100 or so, all said and done. But this is one of my favorite games. I love the campaigns. I love the additional campaigns for this one. I like that you can get so much story out of this game. And the app is really nice, and I agree. I am glad they went with square boxes. For this one, I'm glad that it is in 2 boxes instead of 3, like they show here. Though technically, I have 3 boxes because I did add on a couple things. I added on the Red Death, which actually haven't played that campaign yet. That can be played at the end of any of the campaigns. And I added on the metal coins for the men here, which was definitely worth it. And this is one that was delayed a little bit again, and I think the language editions of like the stretch goal stuff are finally shipping now. So, I mean, this is years at this point. Like, I got this in October of 2019, I think is when the base box came in. So, a little bit late. Or maybe November or December. I think it was the start of December. I think shipping started at the very end of October. And they made a lot of really good changes to it. These cards here are so much nicer than they look here. The character boards, nicer, cleaner. Menhir sculpts, equally as fantastic. These dials are not nearly that easy to read, but such an immersive game, such story depth to it, that it is one of the best gaming experiences that I've had in my life. Then my number one, though, is going to be the best gaming experience that I've ever had in my life. And I'm actually not going with that experience. I'm going with the one that I'm going to be having here, hopefully in not too distant a future, as production is starting on this game, and that is going to be Frosthaven. Frosthaven, the sequel to Gloomhaven. This is a massive, massive, massive box of story. I went all in on this. Got the game, got the organizer, got the coins. I'm so excited for this one. And Nas, had I known you were going to be on here, I would have done a print and play roll and write as my fake number one for you. But I love Gloomhaven. And Frosthaven promises me Gloomhaven plus hopefully improved story, and then as well new different classes, which I think are going to be even more unique for them. And I mean, I added in, what all did I add on this one? But yeah, I'm so excited. I realize I'm thinking about games now that probably should have been on this list. And I'll give a few more honorable mentions here at the end for things that I missed, but this whole town building section is it's going to be so cool. And yeah, Frosthaven Claws of the Bear definitely should be coming out at some point in time. I hope that becomes something that can exist but I think it took 2.5 years to play through all of Gloomhaven, and that included two of us who are playing, us having kids that interrupted schedules for a little bit. I am so excited, but I cannot wait for this one to come in. I want to so badly know what and how that town building works to really get into that. And I know there's a puzzle book in there. Insert. I'm so excited to have an insert. I do it for Gloomhaven as well, but let's see. What else? I know I added on something in here. I don't think I have the sticker pack, though that might be part of the pledge I have. I don't even know what's in the pledge I have anymore. Don't have the pins. Oh yeah, this X character one. I am really excited for it. So, yeah, Deep Rock Galactic, I was intrigued by, but not that interested in. Mind Management is one that I was definitely curious about, and I would love to play, but not necessarily one for sure that I want to own. And Valor and Villainy, I did not back the original Kickstarter for that one. It was kind of those one-off scenario things where I was like, I don't know if I want it for a bigger game. I have picked that one up at retail, haven't played it yet, and I did back the Ludwig's Labyrinth because it has more of that campaign element to it. That one wasn't that close to making the list, but definitely one that I'm excited to get in. So the one that I just remembered that probably should have made the list is Oathsworn. Oathsworn, I am super excited to get in. Again, another big campaign style game, and one that looks like it should have a ton of story to it and a ton of really interesting choices. I love the card cooldown mechanic on it, so more powerful ability, you get it back in more turns. I love the fact that you roll dice to check if you succeed, or you can draw cards from a deck, and that deck doesn't reshuffle until you go all the way through it. So you might know, okay, in the deck of cards, we have good cards, not great. Do I need to get that great hit right now or not? I did back Nemesis. That one, I don't know that I'd back it again. I'm super excited to play it, but I don't feel like I would need to back it again. And then one that we've already mentioned would be Marvel Zombicide, or Zombies. That one I'm excited for. Doesn't make the list. And then the Simon game with the Seven Sins, the Others. Yeah, I didn't back that one. So I think it is the two others that I can think of right now that I'm really excited to get in. The first being Mythwind. That one is going to be your kind of blanked on it. Stardew Valley Animal Crossing style game that you just play the game and welcome Ric Flair. Fatal. Cyberpunk 2077. I'm going to see what the base pledge for that looks like. I don't know that I'm going to be going higher than that level if I do back it. Part of me thinks that is going to be one that I grab the core box at retail. I haven't played the video game, I haven't played the RPG, so only so much connection to it. But I do love cyberpunk as a genre. And then the one that actually got bumped off the list, like the last one bumped off the list, not counting the number 11 honorable mention with Marvel Dice Throwing, was Primal the Awakening. Primal the Awakening is kind of a Monster Hunter. Well, Monster Hunter, the board game, but then interesting card play, deck building, and this is one where I actually backed it not because it had a campaign mode. It does have a campaign mode, which I do want to play, but there were two reasons I backed it. One, all of these stupid, amazing minis. And then the other reason being that you can play a one-off scenario. You can fight a monster at different levels, which means you can just pull it down and pull stuff out of the box and get to playing. Yeah, and Simon just did launch an RPG recently, but yeah, that is the weird thing for me, is that the Cyberpunk board game isn't an RPG or a campaign style game. I mean, knowing Simon, they'll probably add that in later. It'll be like a stretch goal for it or something like that. Hopefully my video didn't freeze. I think it did for a minute for me, but I'm checking. I have it on my phone, which, who knows? Who knows what happened? But then, yeah, there's other ones that I'm interested in as well. And excellent. Glad to hear it is good on your end. Let's see. This one I am excited about, though. This one is especially for you, Nas. Flip down, flip and right game, using a deck of cards. Yeah, I'm excited for this one, but compared to others, this one is just for you, Nas. It looks like a fun one, and it has drafting of the cards that you flip. Or not drafting, you pick where you use them. So like the number and suit determines what section you put it in. Then one of them you're building a poker hand with, and I forget what the other one is for. So let me find. There is one light game that I'm super excited for and just got on the ships being sent. I know that Nos and I have talked about Iron Forest. I believe it was him, or maybe it was Fatal. And that one I didn't end up backing just because of the price. But where is that one here? Somewhere down here. Oh, here we go. So this one is an upcoming one that I am super excited for. On the ships. Tiny turbo cars from Horrible Guild. This is going to be a racing game with a timed element and a sliding puzzle, if I can find it here. Yeah, this sliding puzzle that determines what you're going to do, and then you're trying to... there has to be a better shot here somewhere. Give me a better picture of it. But it's a racing game, basically. Video playthroughs, how to play. Here we go. You have your track. Everybody has a slider. Your car has special powers. You're creating a combo in your middle row, and how fast you can do it determines what order you activate. But the faster you go, the more chance you potentially made a mistake, because there's nothing that really is stopping that time for it. I think it's just going to be a silly, fun game. And if I remember correctly, I got so that I could play 5-6 player. So I'm getting tired now. BMC getting an RPG-ish board game about being a demigod in hell collecting souls. Interesting. Yeah, that sounds very intriguing. So I'm trying to think of the upcoming ones that I'm really excited for. I bought Massive Darkness 2 after the fact, once a few reviews started to come in. And once I remembered that there was a campaign mode expansion for it. But let me see. I can probably find here real quick. Save projects. Yeah, that is one I want to get to the table at this point with Massive Darkness 2. Let's see, upcoming. Somewhere in here we're going to have upcoming ones. I'm just going to throw open a few tabs here quick. That is not the full list of upcoming things that I have. So let me find. Yeah, Heavenfall is the campaign mode. So the upcoming ones that I am interested in. Let me find that last one here. Projects. Somewhere down here we have it. Maybe. Somewhere. I'm not sure when this one is launching, but I suspect this one might be on. I have to actually grab. I realize there's another one I need to grab too. I suspect that some of these might be showing up on your guys' list as well. But, well, we'll go backwards order here. So one that I'm super excited for, the Tainted Grail expansion. Obviously, if that is on the list of 10 games that I can back the bases, I am super excited for this one. Tainted Grail is such a good game, such a good story. I have no idea when this one launches. They just have a little bit of story and a little bit of artwork here for it so far. But I am really excited when this one launches. And yeah, I mean, that is very reasonable that you need to play the first one first. Like I said, I'm 4 chapters into the 3rd campaign out of the 3. So this I fully expect will be showing up about the time that I'm halfway to 2/3 of the way through Frosthaven, which means that's perfect timing for eventually getting back into it. Yeah, this next one I think just looks fun. Trick Shot. Trick Shot is going to be an ice hockey game with, I'm not sure if it's dexterity for it. I don't think so. But it's hopefully fast-paced, moving a lot of your hockey players around. They have different abilities, stuff like that, as you can swap them in. Ooh, it is dex. Good. I'm glad to hear that. It should have a dexterity element for a hockey game. Yeah, Tainted Grail is definitely one that it is handy to have a spot that you can leave it set up. I technically do because I have a gaming table, but I have a different campaign on the lower level of the gaming table. Then one that we mentioned, just mention it real quick here. Cyberpunk, I want to see more about this game, and I think Quackalope has a prototype for it, which if they do a play of that way, because they have a TTS, Tabletop Simulator play of it up. And yeah, if you don't have pets or kids to move stuff around, it is really nice leaving games set up. I will say that. I have a kid and 3 cats, so unless it is covered or in a closed room, they will move stuff around. And then definitely the game that I'm most looking forward to coming back to Kickstarter it launched at just the wrong time on Kickstarter, just as Marvel's Zombies was finishing up. And then the following week, Final Girl wrapped, so people had a ton of money tied up in games. Yeah, if the board game is buggy coming from Simon, I'd be a little bit surprised. It might not be everybody's cup of tea, but they are good at putting out a polished game. But my number one is Rogue Angels. Don't know why. I didn't see it here. Yeah, it was like, it should have been on my list of stuff that's upcoming. But Rogue Angels, I've had a chance to play this on TTS. Fingers crossed, I'm going to be getting a prototype for it. It is going to be a space cooperative adventure style game that has elements that feel like a Mass Effect type thing. You're going in, you're shooting stuff. He is doing standees with the option of doing, and all of these shots are Tabletop Simulator, option of doing minis if you want, like to add them on. But so excited for this one. It has the cooldown mechanic for abilities like I was talking about with Oathsworn. It does that. The narrative that we've gone through thus far is really good. I have some video that I need to cut up and send off to people. I need to figure out how to get it to them because it's a fairly long gameplay. To get it out there for even more coverage on it, I'm so excited for this one. I can give it what I consider a high compliment, where the game is easy to understand and play, but the complexity and decision space in what you're doing is really good. And the story is a lot of fun as you're flipping pages. And it is a legacy game. So I said campaign. It is a campaign legacy game that is coming, I think, base box with either 16 or 20-ish different characters. You'll have characters die as you play, but that won't stop you from continuing the story. You can just pull out another character, and it will give you the rules to get the character up to snuff. Or, if you make it through everything, and say you have a perfect run with 4 players, and there's 20 characters in the base box, you can play it 5 times. And I've seen images of like the story tree of how everything branches, and there are a lot of scenarios, including like just some of the things that he and I have talked about, just different styles of scenarios where some of them are going to be more tower defense as you protect your ship while trying to get soldiers off of a planet and just defending against wave of monsters. And yeah, I forget how he is doing his board. Obviously, what we're seeing here on Tabletop Simulator, you're just looking at the graphics for it. I agree with you. I hope that it is a book. There's never been a situation where, besides putting the spaceship, this thing, next to it, there's never been a situation where it's like, okay, you're playing a scenario, add these map pieces. You're always on a contained map, so I think he is looking for a book. But I'm not 100% sure on that. Mainly because, well, yeah, every one of these pages is your full, or boards is your full scenario. And the fact that there's 70 of them, or something like that, I suspect that this will be a book. I expect that it will be a spiral bound book or something like that. Or maybe even something, spiral bound where it's on an edge. But I am not completely sure on that. Still, super excited for this one. Cannot wait for this to get launched again. So I really hope it it could be 9 4x4 cards that you put together. Though, I mean, if you look at the differences on kind of these map locations, and from what I've played on, I don't know that I've seen anything that would be reusable across it. I think everything looks different enough. He is trying to design it that way, so that is something I don't know about. And I will probably reach out to him and check with how he's planning on doing those boards in the future and letting everybody know. Because I would definitely like it if it was a book. But really fun gameplay. There is a module on Tabletop Simulator. Might be available through this online play. So you can, if you want to check it out, you can do so here. Or if you want to check it out, leave a comment down below, and I would gladly walk and play through a scenario with people at some point in time. I loved my plays of this game. But that is sidetracking a whole lot from the original topic, but also it's a Monday evening. I had the day off, so it's nice to hang out, chat. I still have a little bit of drink left. Thank you so much to everybody who joined, who has been a part of the conversation, who's watching this later. If you are checking this out later, leave a comment. What games would you back again in a heartbeat? Or what are you looking forward to that's coming up? And if you want more of my content, see more of what I do, you can subscribe. Click that notification bell. You'll know when I go live. Generally, it is Mondays around 8:30, in between 8:30 and 9. And then on Wednesdays at 8. So, thank you so much for watching, and bottoms up.